What up, guys? Jason Geiman here with PressureWashHelp.com, king of pressure washing. And tonight I have on a special guest. He's not in pressure washing, but we're going to learn something tonight because him and I kind of have the same theory on pricing, on sales, that kind of thing. And so this goes out for any service business. It really does. At the end of the day, there's not one service out there that this does not apply to. Does it? And I will pull it into pressure washing as we go, but you already know that this does not always have to deal with this. And again, this is about sales and pricing is what I'm going to hit on, the biggest thing, and how to get higher tickets. I was talking to Jason Hefner, and he sent me a thing a year ago saying, there's only $99 guys out there. And so I told him, keep following the process. And, his goal was to hit $1,000 a day. If I could just get to that $1,000 a day, that would be amazing, And so over the time, I told him keep processing, and then he hit the $1,000 a day. And then he keeps hitting $1,000 a day. Well, fast forward a year by him following the process, doing the things you need to do, keep marketing 100%, keep doing the things you're doing. And now he's hitting $2,000 days. About 2-3 times a week, he's hitting $2,000 days. And, this is a one-man truck, works 3 to 4 days a week. He has a full-time firefighting job and is hitting $2,500 days every day, and it can be done. It's not nothing special. He's not special. Well, he might be a little special in his own special way, but that's fine. That's what can happen by us growing our business and getting those high ticket dollars. I was talking to another guy that's up in Pennsylvania this week, Benjamin. I talk about him a lot on here. He's doing a $56,000 job. It's probably going to take him about a week and a half of cleaning a roller coaster and going to make $56,000. So those high tickets out there, how do we get those high tickets? Well, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. And I'm on the pressure washing site. He's on the landscape lighting, Ryan is, and so this is what we're going to talk about. And if you ever thought about doing landscape lighting, he'll be the dude. I put his website down below. But Ryan, just tell me a little bit about yourself. Who are you, where you're from, all of that good stuff.
Yeah, I love it, man. Great introduction. Thanks for having me on too. So it's funny because before I introduce myself, I remember when I got into the landscape lighting world, my brother, and this I guess is part of my introduction. Let me just do that. So when I was going to get married, this was I think we've been married 19 years now. I thought I had invented the window cleaning industry. I thought that, what? I bet I could knock doors and clean windows for people. And I thought, I was so dumb at the time. I thought, at the gas station, they got the squeegee with the brusher. I was like, where do you buy those? I think you go get that and you clean houses, right? And so I found this cleaning store, and I go in the cleaning store and there's a whole aisle. I'm like, do you guys have a squeegee thing or whatever? They're like, yeah, you can come over here. And there's a whole aisle of the scrubbers and the squeegees. And I'm like, what? My mind was blown that there was this whole industry that I thought I had just invented, And I go out and I was just trying to make some money. It wasn't even really trying to start a business. I was just trying to get some extra money so I could get married, right? And had an awesome time that summer. My wife and I, we knocked doors and sold jobs and made some money and cleaned windows. That was really the start of my entrepreneurial journey because, again, I wasn't doing it to start a business. I was just trying to make money. But later on, the world kept telling me, you got to go get a degree. You got to get a corporate job, move up the ladder. And I was kind of proud of it because no one in my family had gone to college. So I was like, man, I could be the one, I could get that signing bonus and the Ferrari and the cell phone. And that was the dream. Well, I get my marketing degree. I get a job and it's 30 grand a year. And,
so what did you learn by getting a marketing degree?
I learned that you shouldn't get a marketing degree. Okay. I should have gone to school for something else. But I actually did learn a lot. Like just even going to school, I learned um, the basics of like computers. So I learned Excel, Word, like all that stuff that now they probably teach that in high school, but that's where I was learning it. And I had like tutorials and I would learn some softwares that way. The other big takeaway that I took from going to college, going to school was um, relationships. So it taught me like how to deal with people. I mean, I had roommates that I liked, I had roommates that I didn't like. I had classmates, and you had to do group stuff, and you're like, dude, my grade is going to hinge on this guy's performance. And all of a sudden, you start seeing that in the workforce as well. It's like, yeah, you got to figure out how to work as a team. So it was a good preparation. Obviously, there's so many flaws with our schooling and stuff like that, but I am grateful that I went and got it, and I actually kept going. I got my MBA, which was not really my plan, but my father-in-law was like, "Hey, when are you going to get your MBA?" And kind of gave me that look. And so I was like, "Okay, I'm going to go right now, I guess." But
So how did that change? So when did you decide I'm going to start doing landscape lighting?
so what happened was this. I got done with my MBA. I was selling software at the time. So I graduated from my like little marketing job to making pretty good money. I was making 100 grand a year selling software. But every single day I thought back to like 5 years prior of me cleaning windows. And I was like, man, that was so fun. Like just out meeting people. And like, I just thought that like that's where I should be. I needed to be out and out and about. I was sick of being in the office. In the meantime, my brother had moved to Texas from Utah, and he had started a window cleaning business. He had started it and done okay, not crazy good, but he was making pretty good money. And my plan was to be like, I'm this marketing guy, MBA. I can take over the world. I'm going to move down there and show you how to run a business. Like that was my plan, right? Well, literally on my way down there, he calls me and he had gotten into some Christmas lights too. So he'd done window cleaning. It's kind of a natural progression. It gets slow. Let's do some Christmas lights, right? Well, then someone introduced him to landscape lights, and he'd done a couple jobs. He calls me. He's like, "Yeah, I just finished up my second job. Did the landscape lighting, and each job they were like $4,000." And I was like, "What?" I'm like, "Who pay? What is landscape lighting?" Like, I had no idea what it was, and who would pay $4,000 to put lights on their house was just insane to me. I could not. I was like, "Where are you? Like, who are these people?" And so, literally in that moment, I said, "Dude, I would much rather sell a $4,000 landscape lighting job than a $250 window cleaning job any day of the week. I don't care what it is, how it works. That's what we're doing." And so that's how I got into the landscape lighting business.
So what were some things that was the hard part of learning landscape lighting on the was it how to do it or was it how to price it and be profitable?
So honestly, the how to do it was pretty easy because we went to like a local, training or whatever. Like different suppliers offer different types of training and stuff like that. YouTube wasn't as big then, but there was stuff out there that you could like websites you could research and stuff like that. But for the most part, it's something that's really easy to figure out. Like it's a transformer that you connect lights to, and then you plug that into an outlet. So it wasn't rocket science. Now, there's some advanced stuff that you learn, like how do I get lights into a second story, or how do I get lights in a driveway that's 6 feet away from a landscape bed, or there's stuff like that. But I didn't even learn that stuff for like years.
And
Definitely
and
the
that was
hardest
back
part.
when and that was back before you had a lot of LED technology and have to worry about that kind of
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
Okay, so obviously you had to figure out how to be profitable. What was either something that triggered to help you start doing high prices, or did you just start it right out of the get go from the person that you learned from in the beginning?
No, I was just like probably the majority of people out there. I didn't have, I thought I was Mr. Macho Man with the MBA. I didn't learn jack. Like I'm like I felt like I'm like, what? I'm starting this business. I don't know anything. And I did like everybody else. I found what everyone else was charging, which at the time was like $225 per light installed. And this was halogen, right? And so there was more wiring and more voltage drops, some calculations you had to figure out. But again, nothing too crazy. And so I was like, well, dude, if they're doing 225 a light, we'll just do 200 a light. We don't have the overhead. It's just me and my brother. Like we install it ourselves. We're going to be millionaires in 6 months, you know? So that's how we priced it. And no, it was completely wrong. At the time, it made sense, you know, but it took me years, man. It took me probably 5 years to get to a point where I, where like, I had people telling me like I could charge more and this and that, but I didn't want to listen. I was like, no, you don't know my customer. You don't know my competitors. Maybe in your market you could charge more, but not here. And I'm in Dallas Fort Worth. This is a really good market, you know. And those were my excuses.
And
So no,
that's everybody's excuses, because I mean, I can see on YouTube here of the people that I know that, I've heard people tell me, well, I can't, you don't understand. It's not my market, or,
yeah,
you can never get that here in Florida. Or, we was actually at the Huge, and there was a dude that came up to me, and he was from St. Louis, and he's like, you think Florida's bad? We got the $69 guy here. And it's like, let's see who can race to the bottom. Let's see who can race
right.
to a job. A minimum wage job is all you have at the end of the day, because we're racing to the bottom. So you said you did this for about 5 years. What was kind of that light bulb moment of, I can charge more?
Well, it wasn't, well, there was a light bulb moment that happened even a little bit later. So at first, it wasn't my belief, it was that I had to. So what happened was I was overwhelmed and I was like, man, I got to get someone to answer these phones. I actually had an experience where, I'm like playing maintenance truck, I'm sales, I'm answering the phones, doing everything else. And I called this lady back. It was no more than an hour after she had called. And she didn't leave a voicemail. I just called back and say, hey, sorry, I missed you. She's like, "Oh, no, no problem." She was super nice, but she's like, "Hey, no problem. We actually already got a hold of someone, so we don't need you to come out." And I'm like, "You you don't need me to come out to give you a quote for landscape lighting?" She's like, "Yeah, but they answered their phone, and we're just going to go with them." I'm like, "Are you kidding me?" She's like, "No." And I'm like, "Wow." And then I started doing the math. I was like, an average job at the time was $5,000. So I'm like, I just lost $5,000 just because I didn't answer a phone call. Are you kidding me? So I I knew at that moment, I was like, okay, I started adding up the other phone calls. Like I would call people back that I never got a hold of. So I was like, that's 5,000, that's 5,000, that's 5,000. I'm like, shit, like, why don't I hire someone to answer the phones? And I was like, well, I can't afford to, because if I pay someone to answer the phones, then I can't afford my mortgage. And like, it just didn't work. So I was like, the only other way I knew how to do it was, well, if I raise my price by 10%, get it up to that 225, right? That was the magic for me, was just doing a little test, and then I saw that, like, wow, like it was the exact same thing. It wasn't any harder to close the sale. They didn't say like, well, your prices were higher than they were last year, like, because they didn't know. Like it's the same to them. And so that was the first step. Now the second step was probably more of my light bulb aha moment. I was actually in Florida meeting with our manufacturer, and it's Garden Light LED in Tampa, and he was trying to sell us a new upgraded LED light, right? And their pricing was more. Their pricing was, let's say, uh, I don't know exactly, but around $40, $50 more per fixture that I was going to pay from what I was currently buying from another manufacturer. And I was like, man, I can't pay those prices. If I was to pay that, I'd have to charge X just to make the same. He's like, and I'm like, well, they're not going to pay that. He's like, yeah, they will. Like, why won't they? And we talked through it, and all of a sudden, I'm like, okay. So this meant I had to charge like over $300 a light, and I'm like, yeah, I'll go do that. So I went back to Dallas. My next quote, $300 a light, closed it on the spot. No big deal. I'm like, are you kidding me? So then I was like, oh, if I can do 300, I can do 310. Then I went to 310, 330, 350, 400. Like I found out that I could do whatever I wanted. The customers had, it didn't matter, as long as I had a good sales process, I could close the deal at any price I wanted.
And I think that goes both ways, every which way. I've even, because like I said, pressure washing, landscape lighting, it's all the same. A lot of guys don't think they don't have the courage, they don't have the mindset behind it. You struggle with that same mindset. Well, they wouldn't pay that. Well, at the end of the day, who's they? Is it they? Are they your customer, or is it they of, I'm gonna buy it? And like I always say, I'm not my customer. I wouldn't pay thousands of dollars to put up Christmas lights. but there's thousands of people that will. And so, when I get out of that mindset of what I think that somebody will pay, then we can start raising our prices and getting higher tickets. And so when we get higher tickets, there's a lot of other things that come along with it. And so by you raising your prices, what did that allow you to do in the end?
Well, it was totally transformational, which is why I think you start with this in your coaching program, and this is where I start in mine. I make sure pricing is the number one thing. It's kind of like when people read a book, sometimes they read the first part and then it kind of falls off. So I load my program in the front. Like if you can just get your pricing down, then these other things, it's not that they're not important, but like you can solve a lot of problems with money. So it solved all the problems. It allowed me to scale, allowed me to afford to advertise so that I could get more jobs and not have to worry about where my next job was coming from. It allowed me to hire more people. So when I sold my business, we had two girls in the office. I had an office manager and a receptionist, two sales guys, three install teams, a maintenance truck, and it was an actual business. It wasn't me like in a tree changing a light bulb trying to answer a phone call, like it was an actual business, and I would not have been able to do that with a low price strategy. I mean, it's too hard to do.
And I think that's the biggest thing that people got to deal with is figuring out how to charge and to when to know to raise your prices and when to I was telling DJ, we charged no matter if the house was in the ghetto or if it was in the rich neighborhood, because on the end of the day our pricing was, this is our pricing, we know how long it's going to take us, and we know that, and it comes down to a number game a lot of the time. If we know it's going to take us this many jobs and we got a guy that can do 3 jobs a day and we can get him, $1,500, $2,000 a day, now we can add on and put another guy on there because now we know our cost. Where, and I can have a lady in the office or somebody in the office that puts in the side of the house and bam, it's just, there's the pricing. And so, when we're dealing with pricing is probably one of the hardest things for a lot of people to understand. And by having the right pricing and having a profitable pricing, we can do a lot of things at the end of the day. We can hire other people. We can work on the business instead of in the business. And I always hit on, when you're working in the business and you're doing the lights, you're doing the pressure washing, that's a $20 an hour task. I can pay somebody $20 and that's a
Yep.
$20 an hour task. And that's where, yes, that's good. And, nobody can do it as good as I can. That's another lie you're going to tell yourself. And, and so those are some things that we can do. And that's why we need to work on the $100 an hour task or even $1,000 an hour task. There's tasks out there that you could do and it might be worth $20,000, that it could come up, and that's where we want to be able to grow and get to the next level. But moving forward a little bit, what are some things that, whether you're doing landscape lighting, Christmas, pressure washing, Christmas lights, on pricing, what are some of your thoughts on pricing and how to get those higher tickets?
Well, so I guess another advantage of raising your price too is like a lot of times, and I found myself when I talk about like what people do, I'm also talking to myself 10 years ago because I'm guilty of all this stuff. But a lot of times you'll like get hired by a client and then they want you to like spend more time or whatever, and then you're like complaining like that they're like a difficult client. But if you would have just charged them the right price from the beginning, it allows you to deliver that red carpet, white glove service. And that's what people want. I mean, no matter whether you're pressure washing, window cleaning, landscape lighting, we're in the service business. I'm sure you've heard it. You're in the customer service business. You just happen to hold a pressure washer in your hand. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Like you've got to be able to provide top level service. That's the only way you can scale. That's how you get referrals. That's how you get repeat business. And unfortunately, most people don't charge enough. So they're like, well, no, I got to go. Like, I don't have time to stay. I got to get to the next job because the next client's waiting for me. And then they do a bunch of like 5, half-ass jobs instead of just like 4 really good ones.
And I liked because I was on Ryan's podcast the other day of something that you had said of when you do charge more, you can go around and make sure everything's picked up. You can
Yeah.
do the extra little things. You can, make sure that you didn't mess up the landscaping, or you didn't, you can do those extra little things that set you apart at the end, because again, you're not rushing to hurry up and get done, and we got to hurry up because we got two more jobs to do before the end of the day. And so those are some cool things to think about when we are getting higher tickets at the end of the day. Would you not agree with that?
100%. I mean, I've never done pressure washing, but if I was to go do a pressure washing now, and I know people that are watching this have had this, they go do a badass job. I mean, it is like perfect, right? They're like the pressure washer of the year. They're a candidate for the pressure washer of the year. They're so good at it. But then if they like leave like some like their cup by the door, or they leave a charger somewhere, or they leave some trash, or they leave some mulch like outside the bed, or there's something, the customer will always focus on those one or two negatives, and rather than like trying to debate it and be like, well, yeah, but you should appreciate me more, like they're just not going to. So you just have to figure out how to perfect your system, and the only way to do that is honestly charge enough, because otherwise, I mean, I've been there where you're like, shit, I know we're supposed to do this, but I gotta go. Like, we're not gonna we gave her a deal, so no, we're not going to clean up. It's like, no, it doesn't matter if you gave a deal or not. You have to treat every customer like it's the red carpet, white glove service.
So, if somebody it was in pressure washing, wanted to think about doing some landscape lighting, what are some things that you could do to start help preparing yourself to do landscape lighting?
So I would say this: if you already have a business, then you're in a really good spot, because you've already kind of experienced some of the hardships that come with it. You've already spent time and money trying to get clients. And so now you've got something that you probably don't even know is an asset, and it's your client list. So you're kind of ahead of the curve there, as opposed to someone that's just like, hey, I'll start a landscape lighting business. So start thinking about who your clients are. When you sell landscape lighting, it's easiest to sell it to people who live in homes over 500,000, 750 and up. That's really like where it gets easy to sell it. You could sell it to people in $300,000 homes. It's just harder to do that. So start thinking about that, and then it's just a matter of deciding if you really want to do it. So I believe that you should really do one thing and do it well. That doesn't mean that you can't have multiple businesses or multiple divisions, but I wouldn't be like, well, I'm just going to start landscape lighting to see like if it works or if it solves my problems, because it's not going to solve your problems. I would make sure your processes and your systems are down, and like you really are good as a business owner, and then you can be like, all right, now I'm going to start this next division or this next company, and go from there.
I want to hit on something that you said that's important that a lot of people don't understand. You had said something about your client list. Tell me, how important is your client list, and what are some things that we can do to keep that client list good for us?
Dude, I mean, that's gold. Like that's where all your value is in a service business. So a couple things. One, I talk about customer acquisition. Some people are like, well, I'm just word of mouth, so it doesn't cost me anything, but it does cost you something. Like you had to do something for that. And so once you have that, it's super valuable. So most people, like in the landscape lighting world, it's not as residual as like pressure washing, because I mean, if how often would you pressure wash someone's house?
It depends. Maybe every, like here, it was about every 18 to 2 years. Florida, you could do it about every year.
Okay. So I would imagine that the problem is this: most people go out, they're not organized enough to be able to follow up with that client. So they go out, clean the house, and like the customer's like, "Oh my gosh, you're the best. My house looks so good. I love you guys. Like if you just we're gonna tell everybody about you." And then like 2 years goes by, and then someone else is getting their house cleaned in the neighborhood, and they're like, "Hey, when you're done, can you come down here and take care of ours?" And then you just lost a client. Is that normal?
Yep. If you're not following up with them, yes.
So that's the value of a list, is like, even though they're not going to like do anything for you or from you for 18 months, 2 years, you should have regular communication with them, because one, some of these people have multiple houses. They could have a lake house, a vacation house, whatever. They all have friends, they all have family. And so you should be engaging them with valuable information and content via email, and just staying in touch with them. I remember sending out one time an email to clients, just talking about, this was around Christmas time. It was before our like Christmas email was going out, and I was talking about the importance of maintaining your landscape lighting system. Well, she calls, and I go out there and end up selling Christmas lights, and I end up selling her about $10,000 more in landscape lighting just from an email that was not a sales email at all. It was just like, here's some value, here's some stuff that you should do. And she probably didn't even read the email. She's probably like, oh yeah, those are the guys. She probably forgot who did her lights originally, you know?
I want to hit on that, what you just said about in your email that you gave value. You didn't even was a salesy email. Why is that so important? From got a marketing degree.
Yeah. The thing is, I'm telling you, like I probably didn't even learn this in school, or if I did, I wasn't paying attention. But I'm telling you, it's just a lot of the stuff I've learned is the school of hard knocks. And then I can't tell you how many books I've read and courses I bought online and events and everything else. So that's the thing. Like, no one really wants to be sold to. Like, no one. I mean, I do, because I'm like a salesperson. So when someone like sells me, I'm like, yeah, you're a badass. Like, I love you. Take my money, like a big hug, you know? But everybody else doesn't want to be sold to. And so if you think about it, like, the people that you've bought services from or products or whatever, like, if someone was like a dick, you're going to find a way to not buy from them. But if someone was like really nice, you're going to kind of try to find a way to buy from them. Like, you want to support them, you know? And so I think about my customers like that. Even though we're sending out like an email to 100 or 1,000 or whatever people, like, I think about them as individuals. And so if you can create a relationship with them, and yeah, it's weird, you can do this through emails, and you can do it through your Facebook channel and videos and stuff like that. But if you can just give value, they're going to want to they're going to want to find a way to do business with you, right? And the key is to just maintain that relationship so that when they do have a need, then they know exactly who to call, because old standby is there every single month sending them off emails or postcards or whatever it is.
And the touches of that is very very important at the end of the day. That's why a lot of times I preach so much about marketing, and I don't go down a lot of. I mean, I do put out a lot of videos about the hands-on portion of pressure washing, but the marketing portion is the most important part of getting our higher tickets, because if you're keeping in contact with that customer, then we can get higher tickets. We can, we're getting our 5-star reviews, and these people are saying how great we are and how awesome we are and how great work we do. And when we get other people saying that to us, then that is far beyond better than anything we could ever send an email out even to and those something that you could put even in an email of, hey, look what Miss Jones, we did at her house the other day, here's her before and afters, and she loved us, and that's and so we can hit on different things when we are doing marketing, and that's why a lot of times I'm preaching to a lot of people of, we got to make sure we're getting our before and after pictures. We got to make sure that we are going that extra step, doing the extra things, making sure it's 100% clean, making sure that we're touching to that customer and helping her go along the customer journey, so that way we can get higher tickets. These are ways that we can get higher tickets. And you got to remember that not everybody is your customer. What's your thought about what not everybody is your customer?
Honestly, it's a great saying, and it's really hard to adopt that mindset, because I remember starting out, like, it's so hard. Like, you hear someone say that and you're like, that's fine, but like, I need to get this job because I got bills to pay. So it's like, I want to believe you, but I can't, because like, I'll just do anything. Like, I'll do 50% off or whatever, and it's an expensive lesson to learn. Let's put it that way. And I think I learned the hard way. I probably wasted so many years just learning that lesson, but I do agree with it 100%. And what you'll find is that, like, the sooner you can just trust Jason. If he says not everyone's your customer, like, trust him and just go with it. Like, he knows that, because that's why he's preaching it, because he's gone through it too. And like, here's what happens is, if you don't adopt that mindset, you're going to grab that client who you're like, no, I'm this guy, it's going to be worth it because he said he knows somebody and that he's going to give me a referral, or he said as soon as he does it, everyone on the street's going to do it. So you do that knowing that you shouldn't. Then the problem is if they are going to refer someone to you, they're going to refer their same cheap friends. And they're going to tell them the price that you gave them, and that you're going to be stuck doing busy work and being busy instead of being productive. And when you can adopt the mindset of not everyone's my customer, you'll actually give you time to be able to figure out how to find those people who are your clients and be productive instead of be busy.
So you had said something earlier that has helped grow your business into where it was and how you grew your business. And you had said you'd taken courses and done classes and stuff like that. Why did you do that when everything's free on YouTube?
I don't know. I'm like an idiot, I guess. So here's the thing. YouTube is great. We all use it. I think I fixed my ice maker from watching YouTube. That was kind of fun. And I'm like, felt like a man. I'm like, hey, honey, not sure if you remember, but I fixed the ice maker 3 months ago. She's like, yeah, you tell me every week. But there's a place for YouTube. And whether you're getting into pressure washing, landscape lighting, whatever, might as well use those resources, right? But there is something completely different than when you pay for something. Like, I mean, seriously, like when you pay for something, like when someone joins my coaching program, right? It's not cheap. It's a lot of money. But the reason why it's not cheap is because I want them to feel invested. They're not okay with just giving Ryan Lee money. Like, I'm sure they think I'm a nice guy, but like, why would they donate to me? Like, that's not the intention. The intention is they're going to give me $1 and expect $10 in return, right? And so they're going to put in that much effort, and that's truly how it works. You can go watch a YouTube video and get inspired, and be like, oh man, I'm gonna kill it, and then you're gonna wake up in the morning, and then you still got your same problems. But if you invest in a coach or a training program and pay money for it, you're not going to just let your money go to waste. You're going to put in that amount of effort to at least get you that return on investment. And if it's a good program, that return on investment is going to keep paying you over and over and over. So there is no return on it. Like your return is almost infinite on your investment.
And that's why I wanted to hit on not that so much, but even going to classes. I love going to classes because you never know that one little nugget that you can get from a class, a course, into any of that stuff that can put you light years ahead of the day. And so that's the importance of why I did push a lot of people to go to the huge convention, because you can meet some really cool people there that you can sit down and talk to, and that you can kind of say, well, this is what I do in my business. And when they're like, this is what I do in my business. And I got to meet cool people when I went to Texas, Wild Wild West, and there was 250 people there of talking, and and the networking side of it. That's the most important thing, of finding those people that you can network with. And like I say, hey, this is what I do for my business. And I'm the type of person that I'll listen to all the conversations, even if I'm not in the conversation. I'm going to listen to see what you have to say, of what has helped you get from point A to point B, and how can I do that to help minimize those things at the end of the day. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, and I'm actually glad you brought it up, because I honestly was one of those guys that when I was running my business, I didn't care about conventions. I didn't care about getting on these YouTube lives, and like I just had my head down working. And to be honest, my mindset was wrong. I was like, man, that's a waste of time. Like what are you gonna do? You're gonna go to those conventions, and like everyone's gonna get drunk, and then like you're just gonna brag. Like everyone's gonna be like, yeah, man, I do this much and I do that or whatever. Like I just had this negative attitude about it for some reason. When I started going and seeing it and experiencing that, you're dead on. And honestly, that's why glad you brought it up, because I'm not one to say I don't have regrets. I have a ton of regrets in life. And one of them is that, like, man, why didn't I take advantage of a community? Like, there's somebody out there that's already gone through what you've gone through. They already have all the answers to not one person, but there's people out there that have answers to every question, right? Together, is how it works. And so um, that's one of my biggest regrets, is not taking advantage of a community and picking other people's brains. I could have been light years ahead, and I thought, well, what do they know about me, or what do they know about my market, or just the same mindset of like, no, I'm different. And it's like, I'm not different. I'm not special. Like, we all are going through this same stuff. Why not get together and be like, Jason, what? So how did you do that? And you would tell me. Like, that's the other cool thing, is like when you get in these communities, people are not. It's not like there's secrets. They're like, yeah, what do you want to know? They'll tell you anything, as long as you're not like their competitor next door, you know. And sometimes they still will.
Yep. And actually, we was talking about that today. DJ and I was about pricing with our competitors. His competitors out there, and it's like, some of them are cheap. And why are they so cheap? They're so busy that they can't get. They're worried about these cheap jobs when they're losing the high-dollar jobs. Benjamin last year called me. He's like, "Man, I'm losing out on $700-800 jobs for this $300 job." And it's like, that's why you got to raise your prices. You got to keep raising those prices. And I always say, if you're getting 2 weeks booked out, raise them suckers. And what you'll find out is you'll keep, and there's actually a point that if you're too cheap, you won't close jobs. If you hit that point of that set point, people will actually buy it just because it's at that set point. And I know that sounds as crazy as it does, but that's the truth. And it's just like one of those things that if you can get to that $300-400 an hour, and people will pay it. And yes, you're going to have the haters. You're always going to have haters. I mean, I got haters on here. I got one thumb down. But you know what? That's fine. Let the haters hate, and we won't worry about the haters. And so those are some things that we can do to make it come up, to be able to grow our business and to do it. And when we set high prices and we get the high tickets, it's like I said in the beginning of this, where Jason is getting $2,000 to $2,500 days. And a year ago he couldn't hit $1,000. And it's a lot about following the process, listening, following more processes, and don't let up on it. A lot of times we get busy and we quit following the processes. We quit taking our pictures. We quit posting our pictures. We just quit doing the things that we need to do, and we focus on the $10 an hour task. And then the next thing, that's why life's like a roller coaster for a lot of entrepreneurs, because we do a bunch of marketing. And then we get all the work, and now we're doing a bunch of work, a bunch of work. Oh, shoot, we better start doing marketing again. And so to do that, that's why, following the processes of, you're doing marketing every day, whether you like it or not. And then there's some hard things that you got to learn to figure out how to keep you from doing your highs and lows. And when was that point for you, Ryan, that you figured out about the highs and lows?
Yeah, I went through it. I went through all that. I remember thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, we're booked out 6 weeks. Like, we better turn off our ads. And then, like 3 months later, like, shit, like, we can't get the phone to ring. And it's like, these things lag behind. It takes so long. So I don't know that there was a direct time when that happened, other than I just remember feeling that. And it was like, you know what? No, we got to set this. And that's actually one of the advantages of growing is, some people are like, well, I don't want to grow. I don't want to be this big company. But honestly, there's a lot of advantages to, you don't have to be the giant. There's some advantages of doing that is you kind of minimizes those ups and downs. You still have them, but you're able to like take on more work because you've got more people, right? And then it kind of puts pressure on you. If you've got like, a couple extra technicians or whatever that now you're responsible for, you're gonna not want to turn off that marketing and want to stay ahead of it. So it's kind of good for you because it puts pressure on yourself to do that.
So you had said you read books and stuff like that. What are some books that had impact on you on your life that helped your business out?
Probably the top two that come to mind. One is E-Myth. Most people know about that book. That was great because up until I read that, again, I'm telling you, marketing degree and an MBA. This is how dumb I am. When I started my business, the goal was not to start a business. The goal was to just make money. Like, it was just like, how can I pay the bills and not have to work for somebody else? But when I read that book, the switch went off, and I was like, well, wait, I don't have to do all this. Like, I could actually just build a business, and then because I'm kind of like getting tired, like do I really want to do this forever? I mean, I was even to that point where I was like, yeah, I'm making good money, but maybe I should just go get a job. And I was like, man, I complained when I had a job, but maybe it wasn't that bad. I had health insurance benefits and this and that, and I was home at 5 every day. Now I'm out doing like nighttime demos and stuff, and like I really thought, should I do that? And so that book was transformational, just to keep me focused and to be like, all right, this is what you got to do in life. You got to be a business owner, not a business operator. And then another really good book I like is Traction. Have you read Traction?
I have not read Traction yet, but I've heard about it.
That one's good because it kind of forces you to take action on some of that stuff. I can't say that I took action when I read E-Myth and was like day one, like, okay, let's sit down and like organize this and do that. Like it just changed my mindset. And so I started working on things, but I didn't like formalize it. Traction was nice because there's actual like tasks in there that you can implement in your business that are going to move the needle and like force you to like be a better boss and force you to hire the right people and force you to have meetings. And none of us like doing meetings, but it's good stuff for you to help you get traction in your business.
So that's good because a lot of people need help to get traction. And, I've actually heard, I haven't read it. I know some people that have. I know a lot of people that have read it. And it is one of those books that does help you to do that. There's a good question for you, too. What's your book on marketing? What's a good book for marketing?
Marketing, I don't know. I might have to think about that one for a minute. Just trying to think of some of the more recent ones that I've read. I don't know. The one I just finished up was Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is not like I recommend it to everybody, but it's different than like the E-Myth and Traction style. It's talks about finance, which is huge. And if you read that book, you should walk away with the mindset of like, okay, I see my business as an asset, as a income producing asset, not as like me being self-employed. And it will help you adopt the mindset that it's okay to hire people and stuff like that, because you want basically mailbox money. You want an asset that's going to give you money every month without you having to do everything, right? So, but that's not. I don't know. I'll have to. Maybe I'll look in my drawer here and
I would go down the road of Russell Brunson probably for marketing wise.
that's
Um,
what I was just thinking is
dot
.com
com
secrets and
secrets,
stuff like that.
traffic secrets, and expert secrets. Those expert secrets and traffic secrets are probably your two best marketing books. Now, I know it's more for online, trying to do that, but those are probably your two best marketing books. Like I say, expert secrets and traffic secrets are two different books that he puts out there. And he kind of goes in depth of, how to find your customers. There's three ways that you can get customers. You can buy your customers, you can do organic your customers, so you're going to do that way, or you own your customer list, and that is your email list and stuff like that. And so that he teaches you how to get your Dream 100 in those books. So those are some things that will help you in marketing, to move forward. Finding a channel and posting 3 times, 4 times, 5 times a week, and we're doing it, consistently, prolifically, and all those great relentless. And that's kind of those three books are your good ones. .com secrets, it was kind of, I didn't really care for it, but traffic
Yeah,
secrets and expert
you
secrets.
for sure expert secrets and traffic secrets. You're right, because .com was like the first one, and then he kind of just added on to it, whatever. So, but you're right. Those books, yeah, you're like you said, a lot of it's online, but all those same strategies and principles apply to any business that you're running. So I would definitely, and I didn't even like the email list, and we talked about the client list. I didn't fully understand that when I was running my business. Like we didn't focus on building a list. So like you guys get leads and then you don't get the job, like they should go into your list. Like those people, and Brunson talks about it, like there's almost like a dollar amount per person on your list. Like once you get to 100 and 500 and 1,000, you'll see like natural more money coming in just because your list is bigger. So again, just because someone didn't hire you today doesn't mean they won't hire you in 3 months, next year. 2 years. Doesn't mean they won't forward to a friend that all of a sudden turns into that $56,000 job. I mean, you just never know. So, yeah, I would say those books are as good as you're going to get when it comes to marketing.
I would agree on, like, those are probably my best marketing books that I would, when I think of marketing, and Russell Brunson does a really good job of, pushing that kind of stuff for marketing. He's going to push ClickFunnels too, but on the teaching side of things, it's really
Yep.
important about, the sales process, the whole 9 yards of that kind of stuff of marketing. So,
Can I tell you something about a quick story about charging premium prices?
yep, I love stories about premium pricing.
Because I know we were talking about that, and I had this story come to mind. So this was further along in my career. I mean, I'm already charging like 350, $400 a light. Okay. And again, I thought this was the wrong mindset. I thought we were at the top. Like I thought we were at the top again, because the other guys were only charging 225, whatever. But I could have gone up more, but I thought, oh, we're at the top. So again, I'm limited again. But I would call on one of our strategies to grow our business was to call on what I called I built a referral partner program. So we would call on landscape architects, home builders, we'd call on pool builders, interior designers, talking about marketing. Where's your traffic? Well, this was traffic that already existed. They're already in front of our dream clients. Like if someone's building a $250,000 pool, they're going to get landscape lighting. It's just a matter of who's going to do it. And so I found that traffic, stepped in front of it, right? So we did really, really well. We did over $1 million a year just from our referral partners. So these were just people referring us business. This goes outside of our own marketing and our own existing clients and everything else. And so we had this one guy, he was like the big landscape architect in Dallas. And I was like, man, if I could just get in with him. He does Mark Cuban's house. He does all the athletes, all the celebrities, just like he's the man, like the landscape architect. So tried calling on him, just nothing. Like I just can't get him. He's, never available, no lunch, no nothing. Well, you get a call one day and it's his office and wants to schedule an appointment. I'm like, I'm the man, I'm the man. But I wasn't the man. What happened was we had a mutual client. So we did a client's house several years prior who now is moving, and they had hired him to do the landscape design, and he always includes lighting, and he uses his other lighting company. But our client like stuck up for us, and they're like, no, I've already got a lighting company. Don't I'm gonna have my guys do it. And he's like, okay, that's fine. Who is it? So I go meet with him. And I'm like, this is going to be so awesome because we are so much better than the other lighting company. Like our products are better, our install, our service, our pricing is better. This is going to haunt me later. So we go through everything. We do that project together because my client was like insistent, right? But now I'm like, dude, once he sees us, like, how could you not go with us? Like, we are the bomb, right? So then afterwards, I can't get a hold of him. Like he just like I'm dead off the face of the earth, and I'm like, what in the friggin' hell? Like, did we screw up? Whatever. Like, so it was about a year later. I get a call from this guy named Lance, who was his head like landscape architect at the time. Well, that guy quit and started his own business and calls me and says, hey, I want to work with you guys. I'm like, oh, cool. So we go to lunch and we're talking, and I go, man, whatever happened with you guys? Why didn't I thought we were like in the door, And he's like, you don't know why? And I'm like, no. He's like, you probably won't believe why. I'm like, well, why? He's like, you guys weren't charging enough. And I'm like, what? Like I charged $400 a light on that job. And he's like, yeah, that wasn't enough. The other company he uses charges $750 a light. And I'm like, are you kidding me? So like, I don't like why I'm getting like exactly like why wouldn't he want to go with me? And he's like, well, he's cost plus. He gets cost plus 25%. So he'd take a 50% pay cut by going with you. And that's exactly what he told me. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. I couldn't believe it. And even me, I'm like always preaching price, price, price. I mean, I literally lost out on potentially millions of dollars because I was not charging enough. And I thought I was the premium price leader, ironically enough.
And you don't even have to do the best work, and you don't even have to be the best installer. And
Nope.
and that guy was making twice as much money as you was.
Yeah, exactly.
You
I
know,
mean,
and I think that brings up a point that a lot of times I hear, well, I'm the best pressure washer. Are you? Or are you the cheapest best pressure washer at the end of the day? Are you the cheapest best landscape lighting guy? And that brings up a good point of a lot of times that's why you got to charge, guys. That's why it's all about charging at the end of the day.
Well, honestly, if you are the best, if you're watching this right now and you are just like, man, there is no one better than me. I am so smooth. I'm good at this, good at that. Then you're actually being selfish by not charging more. Because if you're not charging more, that means you can't afford to advertise. You can't afford to service more people. And so you're doing a disservice to your community because people deserve to have you do the work. You are so good at it. You're going to be like washer of the year, but you're only going to be able to service a finite number of people because you're not charging enough, which means you can't hire more people, you can't do more advertising, you can't service more people, and you're letting your clients that deserve you go with someone else because you're not charging accordingly.
I love that point because you said that one the other night, and I was like, "That's freaking gold right there. That is gold, man. That is
Stop being
good."
selfish. You guys are so selfish all the time.
What? So we're at 50 minutes and we're almost done here. But what is one fear? What do you think is the biggest fear that keeps people from charging what they should be charging?
I think there's two. I don't know which one's the biggest. One is that if that they're not going to get the job, that they legitimately think that like the only way to get it is to compete is on price. So they just think that, like how do like they don't know how to differentiate themselves, so they're just going to differentiate themselves on price. And then the second fear I think is that they're like, man, that's a lot. I mean, you know, $400 or $1,000 or whatever it comes to, like that's a lot just to clean that driveway. It's like, well, to you it is because you're not charging enough. If you charge more money and could afford that house, you could also afford to get that driveway cleaned for that price. And I went to Vail. So my manufacturer I bought lights from. We bought a ton of lights from him. He took us on this incentive trip. We went to Vail, Colorado. I'm in Utah. I was born in Utah, so I'm used to going to like the cheap resort and like hiking from the parking lot with my skis and stuff like that. And we go to this ski in, ski out in Vail. This place was like, it's top notch. I mean, these people are spending 50 grand a week just for like the condo. And then they have to pay for $1,000 a day passes, and their kids are going to ski school and these dinners. They spend so much freaking money. I was just like, okay, I'm raising my prices immediately. Like when you get a glimpse into the lifestyle that these people, even if they're asking you for a deal, that doesn't mean you have to give them a deal. That's just because they're asking for a deal. I ask everybody for a deal. If someone comes to my house and they give me a quote for this, happened one time where they gave me a quote for $10,000, and I literally can't remember what it is right now. But I said, "Would you do it if would you do it for eight?" And he's like, "Yeah, we could do it for eight." I'm like, "What? Like that means you were gonna rip me off $2,000?" And I told him no, and I told him to get the hell out. Like, no, like I want someone to be like, "No, I can't. I gave you my best price, and this is what it's going to take. If you want me to deliver the red carpet, white glove service that we talked about, this is the price it's got to be." And then I'm like, "Yeah, how much do you need a deposit?" Like that's an easy sell. But when you give in, people actually will take advantage of you. And in a lot of cases, they don't respect you giving in. Like they want you to hold firm. They just want to make sure that you're giving your best price, which isn't necessarily the lowest price.
Yeah, and that's something that we got a lot of people in Dallas. We got a lot of people from Florida, and Dallas. That's kind of where the Christmas light world came from. It's kind of out of Dallas anyway. A lot of guys come from Dallas area, and there's probably more competitors in Dallas than there is about anywhere in the Christmas light world. And you hear people all the time, "Well, you can't make money in Dallas." It's like you can. It's just what customers are you looking for? Quit thinking that you can't because your mindset says there isn't people there to find those. So
Now I'll tell you this. I'll tell you, I can't tell you all my numbers, but I'll tell you what we did in Christmas lights. So we tried not to do Christmas lights. Like we were so busy with landscape lighting, and I didn't want to play the game of trying to hire more staff and seasonal and all that, that we had some roofers that came and we had that, but I didn't want to do more. We did 200 grand a year trying to not do Christmas lights. I'm not even joking. And that was just our existing clients. And we told so many people no. So many people no. So honestly, it doesn't matter what market you in. Christmas lights is like, that's like the easiest thing. I mean, people will drop so much money just for 6 weeks. It's insane.
Yep. Awesome. What's one word of advice if somebody's starting out brand new, whether it's pressure washing or landscape lighting? What's some words of advice that you would give to somebody that's just starting out?
Yeah, I mean, I would say invest in yourself. Like, go take the time to learn. Like, don't do what I did and just start working. Like, and I don't mean that in like don't take action. Like, you need to take action, but like think about like as I guess what your actual game plan is. Like, I never knew that you could sell a business. That was not my plan. And without sharing the whole story, maybe we'll get on here another time. I got into the haunted house industry about 8 years ago, and I was trying to get an investment, like a $2 million investment, to start this haunted house. And I go meet with these investors, and one of the things they asked me was, "What's your exit strategy?" And I was like, "What's your exit strategy?" Like, I don't know. I'm just talking about getting this thing off the ground. Why we talked about selling it? They didn't really care. They knew that if we could figure out the exit strategy, we could reverse engineer it and get to the point where we wanted. And so maybe your exit strategy, like, to me, it doesn't make sense to try to build up a pressure washing business to sell. You're not going to get like, 10x or 20x or something like that, but build it up to be sellable, which means you have mailbox money coming in, which means you have people in place bringing that. So I would say that is come up with a plan so that you don't just spend the next 1 year, 5 year, 10 years just working just to earn money, because there's bigger opportunity out there for you if you'll invest in yourself. And that starts with coming up with a game plan. And then, yeah, go find guys like yourself and partner whatever, join your programs and take advantage of the resources. I know people join those programs and then they don't take advantage of the resources. Like, take action, do something every day to move the needle, and don't just get inspired. Like, it's great to feel good, but it does nothing. So if you go to an event, write one thing down that you're actually going to make change on. If you're watching tonight, yeah, hopefully you feel good, but like literally write one thing down right now that you're going to change tomorrow that's going to help you move the needle, and do that with everything that you consume.
Awesome. Where can people find out more about landscape lighting or your podcast, which I was on the other day, which is a really good podcast? It's not, you kind of talks business. You can make it to anything, but where are some places they can find you at?
So a couple places. One is my podcast is Lighting for Profits. So you can just Google Lighting for Profits and then find it that way. It's on all the different platforms. If you go to landscapelightingsecrets.com, you can actually schedule, watch like a little video. If you watch that, if you put your email in, watch the video, and you're like, man, maybe I should start a landscape lighting business, then you can actually schedule a call with me. I do a free 45-minute strategy session with people to really kind of hunker down and figure out what their problems are, see if I can solve them or not. And then I'm also in January going to launch a program called Landscape Lighting Live. So if you do want to get into the industry, this is going to be the way to do it. It's going to be a 2-day course where it's in person. We're going to do the intro to landscape lighting, what it is, how it works, how to install it, how to design it, how to price it, how to sell, marketing, all that. It's basically going to be my 12-month coaching program condensed into 2 days. So we're going to be busy. This is not a vacation, but it'll be a Friday, Saturday, and then we can go vacation Sunday in West Palm Beach, Florida.
Awesome, man. Well, I thank you for coming on. Again, guys, I know I didn't answer many questions. I'm going to do, I know Big Time asked if I would do just a Q&A, and I'll probably do that Sunday night. I don't have nobody coming on. I'll just do a Q&A. Whatever questions you have, bring them on there. The podcast, what was that podcast again? Lighting for Profit?
Yeah, it's called Lighting for Profits. I'm working on my website. I don't know if it's up on lightingforprofits.com yet, so don't go there. Oh, no, it is there. Yeah, lightingforprofits.com.
So that's where you can go to find the podcast. You can also find King of Pressure Wash podcast. I hear that's a great pressure washing podcast. But yeah, so go check that out. And thanks for coming on, and I appreciate it very much. But hang on there, Ryan. Don't get off.